Welcome, everyone, to another episode of our Nightmare on Elm Street retrospective review series. I am Jackson of Just Annoyed and joined once again, as always, by Paul. How's it going, Paul?
Going good. How are you?
I'm doing well. So that, to start off, that song by Tuesday Night, who plays Kristen in this movie, replacing what's her name? God damn it! Why can't I think of her name? The actual famous actress from the third one.
So famous we forgot her name.
Patricia Arquette.
There you
Patricia Arquette. Yeah, I got to see Tuesday Night perform that song live at a convention last year.
Wow. How'd that go?
It wasn't the best performance I've ever seen in my life, for sure. But yeah, Paul, why don't you introduce yourself? Do the whole thing.
Yeah, my name is Paul. You can find me on the Tales from the Flipside YouTube channel, as well as the Downright Nerdy YouTube channel. And here with Jackson, they kind of flip-flop. We flip-flop back and forth for our movie reviews. And we have, I can't even remember what movie. No memory tonight. What do we got coming up this weekend?
Behind the Mask, The Rise of Leslie Vernon, which is a slasher movie, sort of. So it kind of ties into Freddy Krueger. Did you watch it yet?
I got through 30 minutes of it, and then I had to turn it off for family stuff. So
you're making your way through it. You're making your way through it. But Robert Englund shows up in that one. So that's fun. But yes, so this week we are reviewing Nightmare on Elm Street 4, The Dream Master. It is a well-liked entry to the series, I would say. What'd you think of it, Paul? First time watching it?
Yeah, first time watching it. I liked it a lot. I mean, there was some funny parts to it. Maybe it's shifting back to the just the drone of a Jason type movie a little bit, and maybe that's why I liked it as well. But I thought it was good. The kills were good. Some laughable horror parts as well. I liked it.
Yeah, Rennie Harlan directed this. He would go on, I believe, to direct like Die Hard 2. But it's funny how these horror series kind of grab unknowns and throw them in the director's chair. And apparently this was at the time when New Line was literally like writing a script for these movies in like days and then shooting them. And I think there was actually a writer's strike. So we'll get into it. I feel like there's a couple messy things in this that aren't really well thought out. But overall, I mean, his goal apparently was he saw Freddy as kind of the superhero type character, the cool character of the series. And he really wanted to highlight that. And I think he did a good job. Freddy's awesome in it. So
yeah, I read something else where the director, this was his second movie ever, and he was apparently borderline homeless, where they were literally telling him to take a shower when he came in to interview for it. He'd wear the same clothes every day, but he did. He went on to direct, I think, Cliffhanger 2 as well, or Cliffhanger as well, and then Die Hard 2 and some other good stuff. So
yeah, he's clearly got like a visual flair to him too, because this one probably more than any other is like very stylish. Yeah. There's a lot of colorful stuff in this. But yeah, I mean, as far as the plot, Kristen, Kincaid, and Joey are all still around. They all survived Nightmare 3. So the movie kind of begins with Kristen and spoilers, but as those characters are phased out, Kristen's power is used to basically pull a new group of kids into Freddy's nightmare. So my assumption is that they're not Elm Street kids. Is that correct?
Yeah, so Freddy successfully eliminates the last three of the Elm Street kids and then continues on through the transfer of power, I guess. So yeah. I wonder, I mean, would it have been the end if she didn't transfer her power? I don't know.
I think that's kind of what they make you believe, right? Because he gets her to pull Alice in.
Yeah, so it's all her fault.
Yep. So it's all Kristen's fault. Yes. Now I suppose that's the first thing that needs to be talked about in this. I don't think that the new Kristen worked. It's almost like they introduce her as Kristen, and then like within 3 minutes, you forget that she was the protagonist of the last movie.
Yeah, that was probably one of the biggest things that took away from the movie is the other two actors were the same, but they changed her because
Yep.
Patricia Arquette was on to bigger and better things.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a huge hit though, this movie. So it's like I don't really understand that, to be honest with you. Like you would think you would want to get in front of more eyeballs, but yeah, the other thing that's funny too at the beginning of this is you realize like Kristen goes to high school with Kincaid and Joey, and I was under the impression that they all met for the first time in part 3. So I found it funny that it was like, oh, everybody just happens to go to the same high school, and
right.
But
maybe they just didn't know who each other was.
Sure. Or maybe, Kristen seemed to be in a new house. Maybe she moved to Joey and Kincaid's neighborhood, which must be like the next district over because, but yeah, I like this movie. It is probably one of the better Nightmare on Elm Street movies. It's not bad enough to really be laughed off and called terrible, but it's not as good as 3. It's certainly not as good as 3. I mean, Would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think 3 was going to be hard to top.
But as far as writing, starting off, we're gonna play this scene, and this just kind of goes into kind of some of the problems I have with it, even though it's a cool scene.
You shouldn't have buried me. I'm not dead.
So, outside of the dog, which is named Jason, by the way, pissing on the ground, that is all we get as for an explanation as to why he's back. Was there something I missed on this viewing where they explain how he came back?
No, it's all the dog's fault.
Right. Yeah. So I don't like, you got to come up with something better, right? I mean, there's got to be something you can do.
Yeah. I mean, off the top of my head, you could have had like some Freddy fanatic group doing some weird witchcraft, bring him back in the middle, in the woods, or not in the woods. It would have to be in the junkyard, and then he kills them all. So there's no evidence. And then he maybe, I don't know.
Yeah. Like they work in the fact that is where he was buried in the real world.
Right.
But it doesn't really make sense because nobody went and dug up his body. Right.
Yeah.
So you think that would be one way to do it. Yeah. Dig up his body. Maybe you're looking for Nancy's dad out there or something. Mm-hmm. And you accidentally dig up his body, whatever. But I like that scene too. But you pointed out astutely, and I feel like when I was a kid, I never noticed this because it was always on VHS on some shitty picture that I was watching this movie. But he does not open his mouth when he says, you shouldn't have buried me. I'm not dead. Which
he's not speaking the whole scene. I'm good at convincing myself of things. So I guess maybe he was talking to Kincaid through his mind, like dream, but sure, that doesn't fit with the character. So I don't know.
No, but that the silhouette at this point, Robert Englund has like nailed down the character. Just the look of him, the way he carries himself is fucking awesome. But yeah, so Kincaid gets killed off. So does Joey and Kristen. And meanwhile, they pull this new group of kids in. And I actually like the new characters overall. You've got Alice, who is the dream master. Essentially, the plot of this is that she was told some story when she was a kid, and essentially, what was it? If you make it so in your dream, then it's how it's going to be. Like you have complete control over your dream. Was that the take? Maybe it's terribly written. So it's
from number 2.
No, this four, Alice, the main character in this, she like daydreams, and basically her deal is she's the dream master, and she has this story about,
Yeah, I can't remember her story then.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. That's the problem. And it ends up that she sort of has a power where everyone who gets killed, she takes their powers on or aspects of their personality.
I think that's kind of neat. I want to jump back. Kincaid's death I thought was crap because he gets stabbed and then he's laying in bed. There's no blood or anything. And then all of a sudden the dog cares and jumps up in bed like, oh, sorry, I got you killed. My food dish is empty though. Like, but some of the deaths were cheesy. I feel like they were within budget and trying to rush along. But yeah, I do like the aspect of her absorbing portions of the kids as they die, basically giving her level up, power ups to face Freddy, I guess.
Yeah, and they do a neat thing that I actually really liked as a character bit where she's got this mirror where she's got pictures of her and her friends all over the mirror, and as they get killed, she pulls the pictures down and kind of can see herself. Now, you're correct to go back because there's a couple things that I missed, and one of them I can't play a clip from because there's nudity. But there is a great kill in this where the line, the Freddy one-liner is, how's this for a wet dream? And he kills Joey like in his waterbed. That's great. And then there was this one, which I know you mentioned as being kind of neat. Yeah, so the shark Freddy thing is great. The fact that he busts out sunglasses is great.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the actual kill. I believe he burns her or he sets her on fire. But
yeah, they do a nice little transition there. I like that, whatever he is, Freddy Shark can't go on land, right? And then they mess you up because he cuts through the sand, which is awesome. I like that he kind of just poofs out of the sandcastle. But so you think she's dead in the sand, but she actually gets pushed through to the house, I think, his old house, or she gets pushed through somewhere. She falls into somewhere, which is a cool transition too, to not say like, oh, that's it. That was her death scene.
Yeah, she falls into the not that it's not Freddy's house, but it's the Freddy house. It's Nancy's house, right? Yeah, and that's another funny thing at the beginning of as a little segue to the plug for our show this weekend. Was they have a little bit at the beginning of that Behind the Mask movie where they're like talking about Freddy's neighborhood, and Kane Hodder is going into Freddy's house, and they're like, hey, what? Did you ever know Frederick in the neighborhood or whatever?
Yeah, I remember that.
But
I thought that was him. I couldn't. Yeah.
Yep, okay. That's him. So there's all that. So at this point, we're completely sent over to the new characters, and then it's just basically you have your typical thing where you have all these characters with different personalities. You have Alice, who essentially doesn't have any like special trait until the other characters start dying and she starts absorbing their powers. But you've got her brother Rick, who's like Mr. Karate Man. She's got a friend named Sheila, who's kind of a nerdy girl who uses like an inhaler, that type.
Oh yeah, I like that death.
Yep. And then you've got Let's see here. Who else do we have here? Dan is her love interest, the main character. And there's Debbie, who is afraid of bugs. I don't believe I'm missing anyone. I think that's pretty much all of the main characters. Although I should say there is something in this that I like too. Alice and Rick's dad is an alcoholic. And I feel like they should have done more with that in this movie, because there's kind of a neat scene. They established that Alice kind of daydreams. And there's a neat scene where she essentially comes home from school, or he gets home from work, and he expects like a meal on the table or whatever. And she's just like, she just flips out in her daydream, but she would never say that in real life. She's kind of a meek character, right?
Right.
And I feel like that arc could have been explored more.
Yeah, I mean, especially since whose dad wasn't Kristen previously? Whose dad? The other father was an alcoholic. The original,
the other mother, Nancy's mother was.
The mother was, and then also the cop. The cop.
Oh yeah,
in part 3.
Yep. Yeah, so I would have liked a little more to do with that, but yeah, we get some great kills, I'd say, in this, and some really creative scenes. You already mentioned it, but yeah, this one is a classic.
Wanna suck the face?
No.
I just love it. Throws her fucking body back down in the desk. But yeah, there's that one. I mean,
got a lot of good one-liners too.
Yes, he is the master of the one-liner. There's another scene in this, and I don't have a clip from it, that I think is really clever. When there's a scene where Brooke, the bug girl, is about to be turned into a bug and splattered in the Roach Motel. And while that's happening, Alice is trying to make it there. Yeah. And she keeps running out of the restaurant and getting into the car with her boyfriend. And they drive towards to go to Debbie's house or whatever. But that scene happens like 4 times.
Yeah.
And both of them are kind of like, what the fuck's going on? Yeah, that's clever.
Yeah, it was funny. My wife was like, thought something was wrong with the version we downloaded. It's like, this is pissing me off.
Right. Yeah, that's clever though, because you're right. You could easily think like, oh shit, there's a problem with my VHS or whatever when it came out. But yeah, that's clever. And the scene that leads up to that, I think, is quite fun too. She visits a movie theater. Do you remember the movies that were playing?
They were joke ones. So one was like Reefer something.
Reefer Madness.
Yeah,
right?
Reefer Madness, and I can't remember the other. They were both good on the marquee. I'm sure I could Google it,
but yeah. Anyway, there's a neat scene in there in the movie theater. Yeah.
And in the theater is everyone else who's died so far.
Right. Yes. So that is extremely clever. She gets the other bit about that is that she's got a fear of like ending up as a waitress forever at this diner. And she goes into this diner and she sits down. It's like this old, like it's almost like a 1950s movie or something. And she sits down and she's the waitress, but it's like an older version of her. Right. Also quite clever. So there's a lot of really clever shit in here, I think.
I found it. It was a nice foreshadowing called Lost Burning Youth is the other movie on the marquee.
There you go. There you go. So yeah, they're, you know, I mean, I'd love to go see those two movies. That's, you know, it's funny. It's like, what is she doing going to the movies, by the way?
Yeah, that was kind of odd. I mean, but she was dreaming the whole time, right? Or no?
Yeah, you're right. No, you're right, because she wakes up in bed, I think.
Yeah, and that's when she catches on fire.
Yeah.
How did she catch on fire in the dream?
Well, wait a minute. So hold on. So at the beginning, she caught on fire. Well, Kristen was on fire. She woke up. Did she wake up at the diner? I feel like she's running out of the diner to get to the car, but I don't know. Who the fuck knows?
He threw her in the boiler, I thought.
Yeah, but that was Kristen.
After she okay, then I'm backwards.
But yeah, the rest of that diner scene is great too. And here it is.
If food don't kill you, the service will. The usual. Oh, my favorite. Eeny, meeny, miny. Rick, you little meatball. I love soul food.
No! Stop!
Bring me more. Your shift is over.
now it's coming back to me. Yeah, that was good.
Yes.
That whole pizza thing was amazing too.
Yeah,
great effects.
Great. Yeah, there are great effects in this. I mean, there is a again, I failed and didn't get the actual clip of the scene, but this transformation scene is pretty great as well, where they turn her into a bug and she's in like a roach motel, a giant roach motel, and she like falls into the stickiness and like it rips her skin off.
Yeah.
And,
oof.
Yeah. So yeah. So there's a lot of good stuff in here. I really appreciate this movie. Now, for me, the biggest problems with it are I feel like you need a better explanation for why Freddy's back. I mean, what killed him? Like
they burned his bones. They put the holy water. I thought they put the holy water on his bones, and that's when his body exploded in the dreamland.
That was 3. That was 3. See, this is what I'm talking about, though. So in this one, to answer the question, so I already know the answer, but it doesn't make any sense. Like, again, there's a poem. There's a Dream Master poem.
Yeah, I thought you said, how did he die in the last one?
Oh, no.
To get to the dog. How did he die in this one? Yeah, was the poem. You're right. And it was just kind of in the mirror. She had to show him the mirror. But yeah, it was kind of, you got to think of something, I guess, but it was kind of weak. Yeah.
Now, it did lead to this, like, probably the coolest effect in the movie is this right here, though.
You're dead, Krueger!
Yeah, that was I when I mean, even his defeat is terrifying and give you nightmares. But
Yes.
yeah, the one shooting out of his head was just like, holy crap.
Yeah, and they're like ripping his jaw off and they're all coming out of him. But I don't understand. So there was a poem called The Dream Master. She must not have remembered it. And then these little kids show up and they say the poem to her. She reads it and has him look in the mirror. And it's like, that's it. And I don't, it feels like something that was written in 5 seconds where they really didn't give a shit. Like it didn't really matter. But I think it does matter a bit. It's a little bit odd.
You get to feel good that all the souls have been released now.
Yeah, I mean, in the third one, yeah, that's true. But in the third one, you had the lore of you have to bury him in hallowed ground.
Right.
You know, that's how you kill him. In the first one, you had the whole like arc bit of, hey, this thing, it can only terrorize you if you let it, and you need to face your fears or whatever. And in this one, it's just like it's a fucking poem. And yeah, hopefully YouTube doesn't pull this off of YouTube, because there are some nipples in that translucent suit there. Pretty crazy though. They built like a giant Freddy, like a giant Freddy chest with like a plastic sheet. So those are real people like trying to push up. Yeah. So had to be more clever back then. But
yeah. But I mean, look how great it looks versus what they would do today.
That's true. Yes, I completely 100% agree with you. Now, that was part 4. Is there anything we did not talk about that you want to touch on this?
I think if you want to cover the karate death, that was just how her brother died, which was kind of easy. But other than that, the ending is it.
Yeah,
I mean the ending.
Yeah, that death is clearly we ran out of money. Like he fights an invisible Freddy.
Yeah,
like literally,
they couldn't afford Robert Englund for that scene.
Correct.
Either.
Yeah, they have him. There's the karate character, and he ends up in this room, like, and he's karate battling nothing, and he's not good at karate. The actor, I don't think he probably is just doing like random kicks or whatever, and the glove just kind of flies out of nowhere and kills him.
Yeah, he's very much self-taught, but yeah, that was kind of a lame one too.
Right, I would agree. Yeah, and I mean the ending is she sees him in a reflection.
Yeah, I thought it was good. I thought the ending with her seeing him in that reflect in the pond.
Yes.
After, what'd you wish for?
Right.
Was good.
Now, how are you ranking these thus far?
I don't know, man. I like this one. It's just, I think number 1 has to be 1 because it's just
the first.
You think so? I don't know, unless you disagree.
I think I probably like 1 the best, but 3 is so good.
I know. 1, 3, 4.
Yeah,
so
and then 2's not up there on your list. Part 2, Freddy's Revenge isn't up there. But yeah, I would agree. I think that this one is perfectly respectable, and we're in kind of a multi-movie arc with some of the character stuff now, where everything kind of relates to each other. And yeah, part 5. What do you expect from part 5?
I don't know.
I'll give you the title. I'll give you the title, and I want you to give me an expected plot. So it's called The Dream Child.
Oh man, is he going to try and be reborn through a baby like Jason was? I don't know. It could be.
It's not bad, Paul. That's really not bad. It's not, or if you're talking Jason Goes to Hell, it's not. No. It's not that, but it's something like that, I guess, what you just said. But yeah, last thing I want to talk about is I was at that convention last year, and they had a Ladies of Elm Street reunion. So I got to meet, not only Freddie, but also they had Heather Langenkamp and Amanda Wyss from the first movie. They had Debbie, Alice, and Sheila from this movie, and Lisa Wilcox. We kind of touched on during that part 2 documentary, Scream Queen, how the guy who played Jesse, Mark Patton, was kind of talking about how, like, hey, when you meet people at a convention, it's a big deal for them. You know, I always try to be nice. I know that this is their one chance you're ever going to get in front of them, and you want them to have a positive experience. So I ran into Lisa Wilcox and Toy Newkirk, I believe her name is, who plays Sheila, in the hallway.
Yeah.
And I didn't pay the fee to get the signature, you know, Paul. I ran into him in the hallway in the hotel. So I got the wife, she captured a couple pictures, and this one, Lisa Wilcox, who played Alice, is not thrilled. She was very upset that I snagged a picture with her. And my wife also grabbed a picture here of her. And not only me, other people that ran into her at this convention were not happy with her. So, you know, if she ever sees this, you know, maybe you were having a bad day. Toy Newkirk was great. Tuesday night was great. Robert Englund was great. Yeah, you know, you know, there's just something about that. You just got to be nice. How long does it take? You know,
right? Exactly. Maybe it looked like her and what's her name?
Toy Newkirk, who played. Yeah.
So it looked maybe they're on their way to get drinks or something together. But I mean, geez, you know where you are. You're not in a city where there's not a Freddy convention going on right now, let alone, you know, a Ladies of Elm Street one. So people are going to recognize you.
She was in the hotel that the convention was taking place in. And I get it. So sure, I think her thing was that other people paid, so they're going to be upset because I mean, I can't, the fact that there's people out there like that are like, hey, I paid $20 to get my picture taken with her earlier. She shouldn't be taking pictures with people. Like, I don't know. But yeah, and I'm sorry, Lisa Wilcox, but like, this is the biggest thing you ever did. Nobody knows who you are. You're famous here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
yeah, your time to shine, and you frowned.
Yeah, and yeah, she sucked. Sorry, but I did not pay to get anything signed by her the next day because of that. I was like, I'm not going to get it.
That's the thing too. You got to get the, you know, your return on investment. Like, hey, you know, maybe I'll wait in line to pay for it, to say, hey, thanks for, you know, snapping a shot with me yesterday. Probably not everybody, maybe nobody, but maybe, you know, maybe somebody. You got to take the chance to just be nice.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny too, because the Sheila lady was like, she was totally down to take a picture. She was like excited that there's people that are, you know what I mean? So yeah. And you know, that, like, they're not all assholes. I met the guy who he's in Pumpkinhead. He played Bishop in Aliens.
Oh yeah. Is he nice?
Oh, he was, dude. One of the coolest stories ever was with him. So, so I met him in the bar, and like he was kind of just talking about shit, you know, with fans, whatever. It was like a fan event, and he showed up, and somehow it got to me talking about being sober, and he's like, "Oh, how long have you been sober for?" And he was like drunk. He was like shit-faced. You know, how long have you been sober for? Lance Henriksen, by the way. I told him, like, you know, I think it was 7 years at the time. And he was like blown away. He's like, well, what can I do? Like, what can I give you? I'm like, I don't really have anything for you to sign, man, whatever. So he pulled out a $20 bill out of his pocket, and he got I got pictures of him signing it and shit. And he wrote like, hey, congrats on 7 years, whatever, Lance Henriksen, on a $20 bill, and gave it to me, which was like, yeah. So he paid me to give me his signature. So that's, you know.
See, and you tell stories like that, and people hear it, and they're like, oh, I'm going to a convention to see so-and-so. And people are like, oh, if that is the only person you're going there to see, good luck, because they might be a real pain in the ass to see. And then stories like this, you're like, man, that's awesome. I'm going to go see that guy and just say, hey, I know the guy who you signed the $20 for.
Yeah, if he remembers.
Yeah, right.
I've got a pretty funny picture too of like us. I mean, I'm, you know, with him or whatever, and he's just fuck it, you know, like just him at the camera. It's funny as shit. But yeah, you know, it's true. There are. You know, and I get it. Like, they probably can't stand, you know, like, but you're at you know what? Never mind. You're at a horror convention.
Right.
Yeah. So that's out the window, I guess.
If you're just famous going into a bar like the movie Red Belt, and you just want to be left alone.
Tim Allen, yes, Tim Allen, yeah. By the way, that's another episode. I don't know whose channel that was on, but that was a Paul pick.
Yeah, they changed your mind. That was a first.
Yes, but yeah.
But
anyway,
don't watch that one. Don't watch the movie. Watch our review, but maybe don't watch that movie.
I mean, it's okay. It's not horrible. Like people were too harsh on it.
It's a good C+, C- movie.
But yeah, I think that's about it. Paul, where can you remind everybody where they can find you?
Yeah, absolutely. You can find me on the Tales from the Flipside YouTube channel, as well as Jackson's channel and Michael's Downright Nerdy channel for movie reviews.
Sweet. Thank you, sir. And make sure you subscribe here. Hit the little bell icon. I should have a episode coming up with Ken from Pinky's Out Podcast. We're going to talk about the dark and the wicked. So be sure to tune in for that, and tune in this weekend once we figure out when we're doing it for a review of Behind the Mask, The Rise of Leslie Vernon. So, thank you for listening or watching or however you're consuming this content. We really appreciate it. And we'll see you in the next week or so for an episode on Nightmare on Elm Street Part 5, The Dream Child.